Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and this is my 31 days of horror movie reviews. And I decided to watch a film for the very first time, a movie that I was always sort of aware of. I mean, I knew the name, I knew it existed, but I didn't know anything about it. And somehow, some way, being a product of growing up in the 90s, I missed this movie. So I finally watched The Faculty. The Faculty is a 1998 film that was, I had no idea this was directed by Robert Rodriguez. That is the last name I would have guessed to have directed this film. It is probably most interestingly enough for somebody like myself that it was written by Kevin Williamson. And this film, before I get into the plot, before I get into some of the things that are going on in this movie, I should just mention that I fucking love this movie. I really enjoyed it. It was so weird. It was so out there. It was so goofy. But also, it was so different and it was so unexpected. It was something that I was not fully prepared for. I'm glad I went in knowing as little as I did because, man, this movie follows a bunch of high school kids at a high school. And this said high school gets slowly taken over by aliens. Like, even saying this out loud, I know it sounds crazy as fuck. But these aliens, they take the form of the teachers, which is why this movie is called The Faculty, because the faculty is who gets taken over first. And these aliens, I mean, they're like little parasites that get put into people's ear and they take over your body. And you see, let's talk about the actors. Some of the actors that played the teachers, the faculties. You have Robert Patrick, who, given the 90s, this is the perfect guy to play, especially the football coach, as an asshole. Jon Stewart, which, man, was he young as hell in this movie. Christopher McDonald, who does not play a teacher, he plays a father to Elijah Wood. And, of course, once again, perfect 90s casting. Piper Laurie, who, like, wow, it was just cool to see her in something like this. Selma Hayek, which is probably your biggest clue or indicator that this was directed by Robert Rodriguez, because fine ass Selma Hayek is in this movie. But speaking of fine ass, Famke Janssen, who she plays a teacher who, at the beginning, when she's her normal self, she's kind of shy, timid, not the most stand up for herself type of teacher, right? A little bit of a pushover. But when she gets taken over by an alien and she starts interacting with Josh Hartnett, there's some flirtation going on there, and you sort of chalk it up to, oh, well, the alien has taken her over. It's not really her hitting on this high school student, right? But no, apparently there is actual attraction. And you know what? As wrong as it is, and I'm not here about to defend the idea of a female teacher hitting on a male student. Believe me, that's just as wrong as if it was the other way around. But I remember being a high school kid, and if a teacher that looked like Famke Janssen at that time would have been hitting on me in the same way, oh, there you go. All right, so let's get into the teenagers. I already mentioned Josh Hartnett, who, of course, he was like the heartthrob of the 90s. He was one of these kids that you would see pop up in a bunch of one of these things. I actually liked how his character was a little smarter than probably what you would have expected or given him credit for. You find out that he's sort of on his own, conducting his own sort of pseudo experiments, creating his own drugs to sell at the school. I mean, granted, they're kind of just caffeine pills, but still, I didn't expect that. Elijah Wood, I already mentioned as well. He plays the dorky, nerdy type kid, and when you see him, it's like, well, yeah, that's what he's cast for. That makes the most sense. Also, Sean Haytosi, I'm not as familiar with this actor, but I liked his little arc of he's this captain of the football team, kind of a jock, and he gets to a point where he's sick of everybody in the school treating him well solely because he's doing football, not because he's smart, which he's not really that smart. He tries to take tests and he ends up getting a D, but then because the teachers love him so much from football, they bump his grade up to an A, and that just frustrates the hell out of them. The female cast, Jordana Brewster, who seeing her play such a bitch was quite amusing because I wasn't expecting that from her. She actually does a pretty good job of it, which is that a compliment? I don't know. Clea Duvall, who I know I've seen this actress in other stuff. I mean, she just looked insanely familiar. But she, like, talk about feeling bad for her, the way Jordana Brewster fucked with her and bullied her and called her all sorts of terrible names that you can only kind of get away with in the 90s. And also Laura Harris, who plays Mary Beth. She's the new girl. Also Usher. Random as fuck. Usher is here as one of the football players because it's the 90s, so why not? Danny Masterson, he has a small part, but I had to mention him because I can't look at that guy and just not think of some of the fucked up stuff that he apparently, allegedly, he was found guilty, right? Shit that he done. And the actual horror of it itself, I'm not going to say this is the scariest movie I've ever seen. I'm not going to say it's even the scariest movie that I've watched a part of this particular 31 Days of Horror. But I will say that I got some nice suspense from this movie. There was a couple scenes where, shockingly, Robert Rodriguez was able to create tension and create suspense and create moments that made me sort of feel uneasy and not sure on who you can trust. There's a couple scenes of the kids in the school not knowing who they can trust, even when some of the other students seemingly also get taken over by aliens, and there's great shots of them trying to make their way out of the school and everyone's staring at them. It's good stuff. I enjoyed the comedic moments, the lightheartedness moments of it. I don't know if it's because it's a 90s film and it feels very much like a 90s film, and I just appreciate that. Even though it's my first time watching it, I felt nostalgic just being in that time period and hearing all those references and just living in that world. Kevin Williamson clearly loves the meta aspect to writing, just referencing movies or referencing other pop culture stories that referenced aliens and sort of working that into how our characters navigate the problem that they're dealing with and try to make sense of it all. There is one conversation when the group is sort of figuring out like how these aliens might work. Oh, if we kill the queen of the aliens, then maybe we get to set everything back to normal and fix everybody to... I'm like, how the fuck did you figure that out? It's a little absurd, but by that point, I was enjoying the film so much that I just said, fuck it, and I'll go along with it. Yes, I did see that it doesn't have the highest percentage on Rotten Tomatoes. There are some people who did not dig this movie because they felt like maybe it ripped off a bunch of other films. I saw that. I saw some sort of homages, or if you want to call it stealing scenes from maybe The Thing or Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like, you can obviously see the parallels or the similarities there, but I felt like it took a story like that and made it 90s. It made it into a different time period, a different decade, to where, sure, familiar premise, but it felt fresh and new for this time. And I enjoyed the cast. I enjoyed the fun aspect that they just said, fuck it, let's just tell this crazy ass horror movie and not maybe take itself too serious. If I had to issue any complaints, I mean, sure, there's some CGI moments that very much feel like it's the 90s and maybe it doesn't look the greatest, but that didn't bother me. I gave it a pass because there was other moments of pretty good practical effect. The very, very end, I like the ending, but the resolution or the epilogue, whatever you want to call it, felt a little, I don't want to say anticlimactic or rushed, but it just felt like, wait a minute, does everybody remember what happened? Is there a amnesia situation going on, or how does things just kind of go back to, you know what? Who cares? I enjoyed this movie. I had a blast with this film. I am very surprised that I am just now watching it, but I am sure glad that I did. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below if you too have seen The Faculty. What do you think of it? Do you like it and love it as well? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.
Souls taken over by a devilish path. You got me walking on broken glass. Kicking down the door with a Jason mask. With a deck don't machete, but you motherfuckers know it's heavy. Anytime you're ready, you can get you with a Bowie. Setting up to blow me, but the bitch don't know me. Who's going? I'm going. You know, I know that the man in the mirror is my next rival. Time goes and I never thought I'd live it so fast. Staring at the world from the end of my glass. Turned into a dark place, sever my brain. Had a drop.